MIG, TIG, Flux Core, stick, everyone has their favorite, and today I'm going to be ranking them. But not just those 4. I'm going to rank 27 different welding processes. Yeah, bet you didn't know. The American Welding Society recognizes more than 100 different processes just for welding alone. That's not including any of the solid state welding processes. I'm going to basically put them into 5 different categories today. You'll have your arc welding, your gas welding, your resistance welding, your solid state welding, and your high energy, or we'll call it other. As far as ranking the different processes, it'll be on your typical grading scales where it's like A is for awesome, B, C, D, F for failure, right? And then if it's really one of my personal favorite processes, I'm going to give it the old S stamp for superior as one of the top, best of the best welding processes. Not only myself am I going to rank these, but Bo on the podcast side of stuff is going to do the exact same list and put them in his ranking so we can see what we compare to. I'd like to know what you guys think too. Let's get going. First off, starting with the most familiar group to us all, I believe, which is the arc welding category. Starting up first, we're going to talk about the old wire slinger. Now, this is anything solid wire, MIG or MAG, but gas metal arc welding. I think that this is an awesome process because with the right wire and the right gas, you can practically weld anything. For the most part, the learning curve on this process is pretty simple. It's point and shoot. However, it's not always portable. The gas metal arc welding process is always going to need shielding gas, so you're going to need to tote a bottle around wherever you're going. Sometimes the machines are a little bit heavier duty and the wire feeders are separate, so you've got to consider that too. And while the learning curve is pretty easy compared to some other processes, I would say when you start getting more advanced into this process, knowing your transfer modes and pulse and different wire types for your different metals, things can get a lot trickier. But for all these reasons, I give gas metal arc welding an A. Up next, we have SAW, or submerged arc welding. This process is bad to the bone, and just about every shop down in Houston, at least that worked on some really big stuff that I've worked at, had one of these pieces of equipment. It's going to put some of the most deposition rates, the most molten metal in a weld joint you could possibly want. That being said, you really can only weld flat with it. Getting it out of position is just not happening. The equipment's too big. Not only that, but the only way that subarc works is this granular flux that pours over top of the puddle and submerges it, keeps it cool, keeps it covered, keeps it protected. It's really cool for the fact that the welder doesn't even need a welding hood to watch the process because the arc is completely submerged. You're not going to weld anything thin with this, and you're definitely going to need a lot of heat and a big setup for this equipment. I don't know, I'm sure they got some field stuff. I just haven't seen it, but for those reasons, subarc gets a B. Next up, we have carbon arc welding. This is the oldest arc welding process there is. It was first invented back in the 1800s. They used it for lighting more than anything. The 2 electrodes would make an arc, a light, and they figured you could use that then later to weld with and then braze or heat things and bend things. It's a really cool process. It's pretty caveman style stuff, and it quickly became obsolete. So for those reasons, it gets an F. Also, I suck at it. Carbon arc welding was so dirty and nasty, especially when welding like thin stainless steel stuff, so that's where AHW came to play, atomic hydrogen welding. It's kind of the similar thing, run off the same AC power source, but instead of those carbon electrodes, they swapped them with tungsten electrodes and now shields it with hydrogen gas. This was way cleaner of a weld. This was a huge revelation, but it was short-lived because TIG came to the scene shortly after. So atomic hydrogen gets a D. Speaking of gas tungsten arc welding, it is probably one of my favorite processes. It probably lays down some of the slickest looking welds that any welder can make. Yeah, it has a bit of a learning curve then compared to some of your other welding processes, but the puddle is so clear when you're welding with TIG, it's just like obvious with what the puddle needs. And with the right gas and the right wire, you can weld practically anything. And it's a really simple gas. It's either argon or helium, a little blend of both, and you're TIG welding away. That is, however, its biggest drawback is you need a shielding gas to weld with it. And it's not that great welding in the wind. You get a little bit of a breeze or a fan blow by, you're going to get a whole bunch of porosity. Now, there are some ways around it. You can hooch up, you can turn that gas way up, but at the end of the day, it's probably its biggest downfall. And we all know that the TIG welding process, well, really any process, you should prep your metal, but TIG welding's not the best on rusty or dirty painted metal, galvanized, none of that. Regardless, TIG welding has a special place in my heart, and it gets an A. Now to everyone's love-hate relationship with SMAW or stick welding. Everyone hates it because right off the jump it's hard to learn. You're sticking rods, you're just having a frustrating time. I can appreciate a slicker stick weld than I can a really slick TIG weld because it takes more talent to make a really smooth stick weld than it does a TIG weld. Not to mention the fact that stick welding is probably the most portable process there is. You need a power source and your 2 leads. You're good to go. You could put in so many different types of welding electrodes to weld so many different types of metals, aluminum, stainless steel, cast irons. I think most people don't like the process because they just aren't good at it, and then they found a better option. I say there's a reason why it's still around to this day, even if it is one of the oldest welding processes in the book. I think stick gets the first S stamp. The next titan of industry is going to be your Flux Core arc welding. Now, I'm going to put self-shielded and gas-shielded or dual-shielded in the same category here. Flux Core is a semi-automatic process with some of the best deposition rates out of position with or without gas. The fact that it's accessible to the average Joe in much smaller wire diameters and it's accessible to the big steel industries, that says something. Now, as far as your spool of wires, they'll pretty much come in all different types of alloys and even some stainless steels. Flux Core without gas has your solution for portability, not having to tote around a bottle, and you can weld pretty much anything thin and thick with it. And then if you just switch some wires, your polarity, and throw some gas on it to dual shield Flux Core, now you've got a really awesome process that welds some out of position and lays some really slick slugs. Of course, if there's flux, there is slag, so make sure you're burning hot. Nothing can live in hell, right? Man, I think it's another one. Flux Core gets an S stamp. I guess there's just something in the flux. I know you all know about plasma cutting, but we're talking welding here. Plasma arc welding is also a process too, and it's like the same kind of idea, right? We're going to take a non-consumable electrode, form an arc, force a gas through a narrow nozzle, and that's going to form plasma. But instead of cutting the material, we're going to go about welding it. It's usually hooked up to a robot, and you'll find this all over aerospace, medical, shipbuilding. I mean, like the whole 9 yards, you'll find plasma arc welding. But the fact that it's really limited to automation, I'm going to give it a B. Stud arc welding is pretty rad, especially for the repetition that it is. It's instant. You load a stud in, you point, you shoot, click, boom. It puts an arc in between your base metal and your stud and instantly welds it to that base metal. It's pretty sick, to be honest. This is for anywhere from like automotive welding like little tiny studs on to like bridges and skyscrapers putting big old studs on. They could be threaded, they could be tapped, but it's the only weld that you're going to make with it, which I guess is its only con. I guess it's a big con because, again, point, click, boom, that's all you got. I'm going to give it a C. Next up is a much smaller category, but you can pretty much find resistance welding all around you. The best way I can explain it is you take like a lap joint and you'll have these 2 electrodes or these 2 ends, and then you'll sandwich those metal between the 2 ends, and you're going to push a bunch of current, a bunch of amps right through there. And then the electrical resistance between those 2 pieces of metal is going to weld and form your weld nugget. And that's how you make your spot weld. All you got to do to make a seam weld is change the little pins out and you turn them into rollers, and then you're able to pinch the material and then roll that across and you make a seam weld, which honestly is really sick. This is like really awesome for sheet metal assemblies, household appliances, the automotive industry, anything thin, but that's pretty much all it's good for. Since RSW and RSEW are practically the same, we're going to give them both a D. Next up, we have projection welding, which sounds kind of neat. Sounds like you would project some light and it would make a weld, but it really is a lot like a spot or seam weld for resistance welding. But this time, instead of 2 flat pieces of metal, one of those metals is going to have a little bump, a little lump, a little hump. And that little point is going to make a very specific point of resistance so that you can really focus on that one spot. This is almost always going to be automated, and you can also do more than one at one time, which sounds really nice. However, this usually means a lot more planning on the engineering side of stuff where more things can go wrong, and you're going to need a bigger setup because, again, this is almost always automated. For these reasons, projection welding gets an F. Now, flash welding gives the same vibes as the past 3. All you really need is electrical resistance and pressure, and you're going to make a weld. But instead of the sheet metal overlapping, we're going to have 2 ends of something touching, like 2 ends of a rebar, and we're going to make a weld there. You can have small little welds, and you can have big welds or big joints, but the bigger the joint, the much bigger welding machine you have. It's basically like making a simple butt joint, but with violence, which I'm all about. I give flash welding a B+. Can I do pluses? The next group are some OGs and a few that I haven't even heard of before. We're going to move on to the gas welding section. We all know the classic oxyacetylene welding, OAW. This process is classic. One of the oldest processes there is for welding a number of things. There's a reason why it's still around today. You'd be a fool not to have an oxyacetylene set up in your shop for welding, brazing, cutting, whatever it may be. You can weld more than just steel, and sometimes even welding it anneals it at the same time. There's a whole science behind it, but you got to dive deeper into just the little bit of touching you did in welding school. I think oxyacetylene welding deserves an A. Very similar to oxyacetylene welding, you have oxyhydrogen welding, which takes the acetylene out of the picture and we swap it with hydrogen. It's a little bit like a little brother to the oxyacetylene welding. You're going to use this for more thinner materials, but you can even weld more precious metals with it as well. It's a pretty rad process, honestly, but I think it's a little niche, so I'm going to give it a B. Next up, we have PGW, or pressure gas welding. This one I had to look up. I wasn't very familiar with it, and I didn't find anything super technical on the process. It kind of just looks like a crude form of forging. They take a torch, they heat up the ends of the metal, and then they use pressure to squish it. It's like a cross between forge welding and a cheap version of flash welding at the same time. I think it needs to be a little bit more original. I'm going to give it an F. Next one is one I haven't heard about at all either, air acetylene welding. I had to look it up. They call it welding, but it's not for welders. It's more for sweat and copper. It's for HVAC stuff. You might get away with some jewelry stuff, but it's not going to get hot enough to weld nothing. It was probably just AI Google blowing smoke up my butt. I give this process another F. All right, so now we're going to get to the weird welding processes. These are the solid state welding process, which basically means that we're going to use heat and pressure to get these metals to join together. There's no shielding gas, there's no flux, there's no wire, just pure mind-boggling science. First of these, we have our friction welding. Now this could be a round thing or a flat thing. They're just going to basically rub them really hard together and then push them with some pressure, never melting it all the way, but pushing it with a ton of force so that they weld. You basically need a massive machine and a ton of energy so that you can make a little weld. I give it a D. Next is friction stir welding. Similar kind of principle, except it takes like this lathe style machine and it plunges a head into the material, typically aluminum, something kind of soft, and then it just spins, baby. And now don't get me lying on how it works exactly. You still need a big piece of equipment to make a small little weld, but I think it's a little cooler than the last one. I'll give it a C. Now, USW, or ultrasonic welding, is a process straight out of a sci-fi movie used to weld precious metals thinner than tinfoil. It'll basically take ultrasonic frequencies and just vibrate through that and create enough heat with a little added pressure to make a weld joint. It's a little anticlimactic, to be honest, and the science stuff is kind of crazy and a little bit over my head. Maybe it's my ignorance speaking, but it just doesn't have the same vibe as a 6010 growling on a piece of pipe. I'm gonna give it a C. Ah, yes, EXW, or explosion welding. Literally explosions. Now we're talking. It still follows the same kind of idea behind everything else we're talking about, which is heat and pressure. This is typically for like cladding materials, anything to anything. You want your titanium to steel? Boom, welded. You want your aluminum to copper? Boom, welded. Explosion welding gets the S stamp for show. Diffusion welding is up next, and I had to look this one up, and what I found out made me very bored and sleepy. Basically, you just need just the right amount of heat with just the right amount of pressure with just the right amount of time, and it literally makes the atoms diffuse across each other in order to weld them. You can literally weld anything to anything. I'll give it an F. FOW, or forge welding. I guess I'm just a sucker for the classics, you know? It's just something about getting something stupid hot and just smushing it, and it's way faster than diffusion welding, right? It's almost instant with the pound of a hammer. I think it's way more satisfying, and if done properly, you can forge weld a lot of different metals to each other. And really all you need is heat and a hammer. I give forge welding an A because I think it's awesome. People are like, well, why don't you do any forge welding? Because I've tried the swinging of the hammer and I've tried the power hammer. I don't want to use, I'm not a hammer swinging guy. It's just not for me, but I still give it an A. Now, cold pressure welding is kind of crazy, honestly, because it's contradictory to everything else where it takes heat and pressure to do something. We're going to take heat out of the equation. And there's tons of benefits to not putting heat into the part. You can ask any metallurgist. You're going to be limited by the fact that this is going to need to be a smaller part. It's going to be needing to be made out of softer metals. It's going to need to be really thin. Take a lot of pressure in order to make this cold pressure weld, and it's still not going to be as strong as a fusion weld. But again, it's got its place. It's just not for me. The cons have it. I'm going to give it an F. Now we're moving on to those high energy or beam or other processes. Man, these are some of my favorite. First up with LBW, laser beam welding. Lasers are everywhere, but in all reality, lasers been around since the 1960s, and it had its first debut in automation in the 1970s in the aerospace industry. Now, if you fast forward 55 years later, now any average Joe can have one of these things in his garage, which kind of feels like the wild, wild west times of the laser. There's not a lot of safeties or regulation. I mean, there is and there isn't. Like, there's a bunch of safety that you should have, but there's a lot of people that aren't using it, which, again, wild, wild west. We're just laser slinging over here. You can put the right gas to the right wire and you can weld just about anything, lickety-splickety. It's super awesome, and people all over the globe, small shops, big shops, and everywhere in between, are seeing the benefits and the applications to laser beam welding. Just think what another 55 years is going to give for laser beam welding. I'm going to give this process the S stamp. Whoever told you that you can't weld over slag has never heard of electro slag welding before. ESW is one of my personal favorite welding processes and gives subarc a run for its money. ESW is like if resistance welding and arc welding had a baby, whereas like the wire will come in and form that electrical arc, start the pull, then start to form that welding slag, and then all that rest of the weld is formed through the electrical resistance through the weld puddle itself. All the while, it's just dumping filler metal into the weld joint, and it can make single passes inches thick. It's hot. You're only going to work on thick metals with this stuff, but what's really cool is you don't even need to put a bevel on anything. You just need a big old gap and two pieces of metal and just make some metal soup in between. Electro slag welding gets an A, man. Thermite welding, to me, reminds of like some sort of ritual where you're like summoning the volcanic lords to melt the metal in front of you, but it's really a lot more kosher than that. This process is usually used on railways, really high carbon steels, and it's going to take aluminum powder and iron oxides inside of a crucible, and then they're going to go ahead and light that. That exothermal reaction is going to start forcing that iron into the weld joint, and it just looks freaking wicked awesome. Since I really haven't seen thermite welding outside of the little railway industry, let me know if you guys have seen it. I'm going to give it a C for that. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it some bonus points for it being extra sick, so I'll give it a B. Next up is electron beam welding, which is another one right out of a Star Trek episode. All you're going to need is a vacuum chamber because you don't want your electrons to be skedaddling everywhere. And then you're going to take your electron gun and point it at a tungsten cathode, boil off the electrons, and then you're going to accelerate that with high voltage, getting those electrons to move close to the speed of light. Then you're going to take all that energy and focus it into a tiny, tiny little beam, pointing it at the material, instantly vaporizing it, leaving a keyhole, and as that beam moves, that keyhole fills in right between it. This process is capable of welding 10 inches thick of steel, 20 inches thick of material, and it honestly doesn't care what metal you're made out of because it does dissimilar metals best. That is the science I signed up for. EBW gets an S. Y'all let me know if you think I put those in the right spots or if I've lost my damn mind. And also, don't forget to go check Bo's podcast. He's going to be breaking down the same list and ranking it in his order. Y'all be sure to check it out. Peace.